Hello, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride, and today we're looking at another submission by Tytti of her horse Usko. They're in Sweden, and I think what's so marvelous about this tape, as well as the fact that the horse is looking so good, considering how he's been on and off in terms of work because of the weather there. But this is a perfect example, and I just love this so much because this horse is going so well. But it's a perfect example how, even on this ice and snow that they're working on here, how good the horse looks, how equally he's stretching down. In fact, this is the best tape I've really seen of the horse, and he looks really even and really looks like he's swinging forward and active and stretching better than I've seen before, which is a perfect example of, if you do this work correctly, even if you have time off in this sort of thing. When you come back, you tend to come back to training, wherever you kind of left off. Horses can sit for quite a long time if their work has been correct, if they've had an injury or weather or whatever the case may be that they're not able to be worked for a period of time. But they come right back to this work very easily once they do. Look how beautifully this horse is stretching over his back here. And once again, how the importance of having horses working over their backs. And you can see how even working on this ice and snow that you're working on here, how equally the horse is moving and how balanced he's moving. And that being the point, people have forgotten how important it is because so few people today actually do things like fox hunt and things like this where they're really galloping across country and over uneven footing. And that's part of the point of having a horse working over its back. When we do that, it equalizes the pressure kind of on all four legs, making the horse kind of like four-wheel drive, as opposed to a horse that's hollow, which is always on his forehand. Once again, no matter how high the horse lifts its knees, for instance, snaps its legs up, has nothing to do with whether the horse is on the forehand or not. It has to do with whether the horse is swinging through and is able to combine the balance of the front and back end through that. So we see how important that is, and you can see how beautifully this horse is stretching here and how even he is and how much his walk has improved. And even though the work with this horse has been on and off due to some injuries and due to the weather, obviously, that these people are dealing with here in Sweden, but we see how well the horse is going even through that. So great job. I think this is actually the best tape I've seen of this horse, and once again proves now they do have snowshoes on this horse with some special studs in them that help the horses move on this kind of slippery pavement or slippery surface, so to speak. But what a great job he does, and how equal and even he looks moving over the ground now. And that was really the best stretch I've seen on the horse. So once again, as I said, even though the work has been inconsistent, this horse has continued to improve every time you have been able to work him. So once again, the importance of doing this correctly from the start. If your horse is nervous and uptight, and gets an injury, he's going to come back exactly where you left him off. So that's the beauty of this work. It just keeps improving, and it keeps making it easier even every time you come back to it to get the horse going correctly. So great job here. Once again, really nice stretch in the walk, and this horse is moving. The first time I saw this horse move, his back was very dropped, and his back legs just really looked like they were stuck in mud, so to speak, when he was walking. And he was very tense through his neck, and now they've made such an improvement on this horse. I mean, this is really good. So once again, it's more important that your surface, now if this surface were full of holes, you'd have a lot of problems, but because it's basically all the same and looks pretty even, other than that, the horse is able to deal with it. But once again, if the horse is working over its back, it's kind of like a car with four-wheel drive and good suspension. You go over a little bump and you hardly feel it. It doesn't just plunge into the hole. Like if you've ever been in a car with bad shocks and you hit a pothole, and you know what happens. It feels like the whole wheel is going to be torn off. Well, the same thing is true of horses. When we get them working over their back, they're able to gallop over uneven ground and much more successfully, and just skip right over the holes, so to speak, that you would have. Where so many horses today, we used to see this a lot in the hunt field. I used to be very involved with fox hunting, which I love, and there's nothing I love more than galloping cross country, but I became frustrated a bit because of so many people coming out in the hunt field unprepared. Look how beautiful this walk is. He's just stretching down over his back. This is such an improvement over what we've seen in the past with this horse. And once again, even though the work has been a little on and off with this horse, he's continued to improve all the way along. So you guys are doing a wonderful job with this, and especially given the circumstances that you have there in terms of not having an indoor arena where you can ride year-round. But look how he's continued to improve. That's absolutely beautiful right there over his back. Got a little up there he goes. When he sort of stretches down into it a little bit more like that, that's really good. So this is a huge improvement over what I've seen before. And once again, as I said, I lived in England also for a time where people spent most of the time riding down roads, and the horses were just fine, but they were on consistent hard ground. So You know, consistency of footing is more important than anything else. Whether it be hard or soft, it be that it not change from one to the other. So you can see how well this horse can actually deal with this ice and snow that you're riding in here by virtue of the fact that it's not full of a lot of holes or big chunks of ice or something like that, which would make it very different. But this is great work. Every time I see this horse, he just looks better and better, even though he seems to have quite a bit of time in between the workouts. But you guys are doing a wonderful job with him. That's really good. And look how evenly he's bringing the back leg through with the front leg. And once again, that's the hallmark of great dressage. When you see correctly trained upper level horses, they don't just throw their legs out from the shoulder. They come through from behind at the same level. That is the same swing, the same length of stride as the front legs. So when you see some of these dressage horses that seem to just be throwing their legs out in front, that's essentially all that they are doing. And that's what overflexes all the tendons and joints, and that's why we see so many horses having to be injected so early and getting suspensory problems and this sort of thing. I fox hunted horses for many years and never had a single problem in the hunt field with a soundness problem with a horse. Every one of them, were able to continue their work, and even with the kind of rides that we do out there, 3.5 hours at a time, of sometimes as long as 40-minute gallops, the horses all came back sound because I always paid attention to whether they were over their backs or not, and of course never overworking. There were many times that I got off my horses out in the hunt field and just walked them home because I felt that their backs were gone and they were tired and just couldn't sustain the work anymore. So I simply got off and walked, and that's what a real horseman does. We must preserve the horse for another day, so to speak, because if we ruin them on today, we'll have nothing left. My kingdom for a horse, as Shakespeare said, And we have to think of it as if our lives did depend on it, which is in the past, people who could afford horses, they did, in the sense that, we used them for transportation and pulling goods and everything else. And, people were able to keep horses sound in the past without all these injections and all of these very expensive procedures that veterinarians have come at. While I applaud these advances in science, they're way too being overused as band-aids on show horses so people can continue to show lame horses. The British used to say, the first sign of a leg, stop and rest the horse. Well, that's exactly right, instead of having a veterinarian inject them with something so that they can keep going. So getting back to Tytti and Usko here, what a great job she's done. I just love seeing this horse every time I do, and the weather conditions, and that's what I say. I go to Canada very often, and I always say, the people up there have to really want to ride because the weather there is so bad. You must really love riding and love horses to do it under these kind of circumstances. The same thing with you folks here. So I applaud your efforts in a difficult weather situation, doing the best you can with your horses. But once again, as we see, every time we come back to the work, it just gets better and better. This is really the best I've seen this horse, and so I really want to applaud you for all the hard work that you've done. I like how you're just making these downward transitions very simple and easy, not expecting to jam on the brakes. It's one thing that people just don't get, I have a couple of horses right now that I'm working that have been ruined by people trying to halt them up sharp, and it's taken a long time to get them over that, With young horses, we don't expect them to halt very often or make a lot of downwards transitions. Just like a car, we don't go around slamming on the brakes every time we try to slow a car down. You soon have no brakes. So the same thing is true of horses. If we slam them into the ground every time we try to make a downwards transition, pretty soon their legs are going to be shot. But this is just how it should be done, and especially in this kind of footing where, it's not perfect, but what a great job. And of course, you've done the right thing with the horse by putting kind of snowshoes on him that give him a little bit of stud there, as we would do in the hunt field with horses with mud and that sort of thing. We do have to help them out, give them a little firmer footing, so to speak. But really great job with this horse. I love seeing the progress you folks have made. I want you to really keep up the good work. And he just looks better and better every time I see him. Love how you come back to the stretch here in the walk and let him back out again. So everything I'm seeing here is just right on track. As I said, even though it's been sporadic with this horse, every time I see you again, it's better and better each time. Very nice job there. And this is just about the speed that you want him to go at, Never ride a horse out of balance and you'll live a lot longer. So great job on this. I look forward to seeing the next video as spring comes. But you guys have done a wonderful job with this. Keep it up. That's really nice right there. Good working trot over his back. Sometimes he doesn't stretch as much as we like, but it's getting good. This is Will Faerber from Art to Ride.